good whatever to you. Whenever you're watching this episode of A Movie Making Nerd, a deep dive book review into James Rolfe's autobiography. I am your host, Dylan. This is my co-host, Tommy the Spurg Snake. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm it's so surprised at your enthusiasm now. It's up there. Yeah, Mr. Blue Sky, good tunes always. This book we're on chapter 3, and both you and I are still living and not swinging from a rafter by a rope.
And that's because we stopped in the middle of chapter 3. Once I got 20 clips, I haven't had 20 clips in the previous shows. It was like 15, 17, 18. I have 20 clips after chapter 3F, I think it is. And I was like, that's enough. That's plenty for today. And James, wow, he might as well just get right into it. This is the college years. We are still not fucking close to the first Angry Video Game Nerd sketch.
But he's got 70 films already.
That is, yes, he talks about that a lot here in the college years because his professors were like, yeah. You fucked around on your VHS camera at home. That isn't film. We're studying film. And he was quite like, no, I've made 70 films. I've made 70 films.
This chapter, it definitely shows. And that was what my first line and my first notes, title, subtitle, part 1. That's what we're on now. It's not just the title of the chapter, subtitle, college chaos. It's college years, or college freshman, college chaos, part 1. This guy is mad. It's maddening. It's all madness.
It's titled like a Sonic the Hedgehog level. I immediately got Sonic 3 music in my mind when he read off College Chaos, Part 1, which I did separate the chapter titles. I think that's the first one, right? Isn't it, James?
Chapter 3, College Freshman. Section A, College Chaos, Part 1.
Yeah, we're not fighting Robotnik yet here in this College Chaos. This is just the first zone of College Chaos. And it hurt.
That's yes, it's definitely, and that's the just the way the titles and the chapters are laid out. It's maddening, and I'm wondering how difficult James is, because it reveals itself throughout this chapter that he's got it in his head what he is and what he wants, and anything in his way is a hindrance. Anything, any advice, any challenge, any basics.
He certainly thinks highly of himself as a filmmaker. And I was like bashing my head against a wall of like, no, do you not realize here in your early 40s that you weren't a filmmaker, that you were just a pain in the ass kid? But there was some good news of him being a college freshman, moving into the dorm. So let's hear about him moving into the dorm with a whole bunch of other fresh-faced freshmen. That's too many freshes. I'll work on that.
Speaking of destiny, as I was moving in, I noticed Kevin Finn was my next-door neighbor.
Every time Kevin Finn's name is mentioned, we will have an ominous little tag like that, because we, from the future, know what happens.
Oh, yes.
But as it turned out, we didn't hang out much that year. He was busy, always out socializing somewhere, and I didn't see much of him. This taught me a lesson to try and socialize more myself and add more friends to my list.
So Kevin Finn was his neighbor at the dorm, but he was busy being a freshman, having a whole lot of fun. James really highlights in this chapter that he just was afraid and hung around the dorm all the time, and James Finn did not. Or Kevin Finn did not. So they only saw each other every once in a while because little scaredy cat James did not go out. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't smoking. And that all came to him because they're college freshmen in a dorm.
Yeah, yes. And that's the thing. He didn't even have to go outside to get an experience, which also makes me wonder, like, because I don't want to say like failing upwards because he never really failed. He just was provided every opportunity Like, a lot of people would kill for some of the things he was given. Just
I know
give it.
exactly who to compare this to. That'll be a little stinger that I put at the end of this clip when he talks about the room goers coming and going. Like he had to give them a distinction of they weren't his roommates, they weren't exactly his friends. These were just other freshmen that were like, okay, we can't crash in our dorm all day smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. Let's choose that wiener kid. That wiener kid will let us drink in his dorm the entire day to have some type of socialization. So here is the him talking about the room goers.
The room, however, became sort of a party zone with many people coming and going.
Sometimes we had so many people staying with us that every room was filled with travelers, folks living out of their suitcases and hat cases and sample cases.
They were coming and going all the time. So Forrest Gump, he didn't fail upward. He was just there for all of this college chaos. There are so many chapters entitled College Chaos Part 4, I think there are. There's one we haven't gotten to yet. But it's the chaos that was happening around him that he wasn't taking part in.
No, that's the thing. And he's such a square. But prior to moving into the dorm, he was like, oh, I got accepted to the summer school he went to. Like, apparently he had to make up classes and stuff, and he did it at this college. And he called Philadelphia his destiny. And I lost my mind. I was like, you can't say that. Philadelphia is nobody's destiny. That's not real.
He also called Kevin Finn his destiny in that first one as well, which I'm working on recutting those. So Kevin Finn is my destiny is in the clips that I'm starting to make up myself.
And real quick, he talks about the odds of Kevin Finn winding up in the dorm on his same floor. It's like, dude, he lived really close to you while you grew up. And you both were about proximate from the same neighborhood, and you attended the same school and most of the same classes. Why would you not be right next to him? It would make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes sense that somebody, like, if I grew up, if you were my next door neighbor my whole life, and we went to the same community college and took the same classes, you'd probably be right next to me on the dorm floor. It's just how it works.
My community college did not have a dorm floor because most community colleges don't. He's in an actual university here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. I was going to accuse him.
His dorm mates, they liked the head incident, which James talked about big last time. And I was like, James is like, my plan was the head incident is going to be my resume. I'm going to show it off to people. And I was getting frustrated towards the end of last episode of like, I bet we don't hear about this head incident ever again. We hear about it once so far in this chapter. His dorm mates liked it, but not enough to help him with his productions. So that was, I think that leads into this clip, if I haven't marked correctly.
Chapter 3B, Artsy Fartsy.
Oh, I take that back. I mislabeled that. So I don't have any more audio clips from this first one. Let's see. Bimmy always declined to go to the bar and underage drink because he was scared. He eventually joined them and immediately got sick off of a white Russian.
His stomach rejected it. He didn't say he got a bellyache. He didn't say he threw up. He deliberately said, my stomach rejected the drink. And yeah, he got a white Russian. And so I was like, he doesn't even make a Lebowski reference or anything. So I don't think he's seen the movie at that time. Even though this is 1999, I'm pretty sure that was out in 99.
Oh yeah. That was a mid-90s film, I want to say. That was like on HBO and Showtime by 99.
Yeah, that was such a good movie too. But that's the white Russian reference. And he walks out on him. Like, his friends finally convince him to go to a bar. He gets a bellyache. He walks out and doesn't tip the bartender. That's it. That was
guys, this is your guys' problem. I'm never coming here again. But you want to stay nice with this bartender. That's your problem.
That was my subtitle for the chapter too. Bimmy goes to get a drink. Because that's basically what happens in this part of this chapter. It was just him kind of easing into the college experience. I feel like he does compare a lot of reality to what television has taught him. Like, you know, he's probably watched Saved by the Bell, so he expects school to be like Saved by the Bell or something. So
it's
like,
all right,
if he has,
because he's Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, he's in the college years of that show now. So him and Bob Golick are going to be hanging out in the dorm.
Oh, that stinks. The college years. I don't think we have any Tiffany Amber Thiessen. They offered her much more money to be on 90210 than the college years.
Yeah, that was probably the better decision for her.
So at the end of the chapter, James frames drinking at the bar as dangerous. And he gives a little cliffhanger, a guilty by association cliffhanger. So
he's a total square.
That's what I thought over and over and over again through this entire chapter was this is just such a perfect square. It is 90-degree angles. There is nothing beyond squareness in James in the college years.
Yeah. It's funny to me. It's because, you know, like every other student's trying to get at him. Like, hey, dude, we should go egg this or toilet paper that. And we'll get into some other stuff he gets into. And again, real quick, like, I feel like he's lifting stories, or maybe something happened next to him and he just appropriated it. I'm not sure, but you'll see how fantastical some of this gets as we move on, audience.
And I already played the chapter title for
Chapter 3B, Artsy Fartsy.
I got multiple sub for this. It's C-class creative, because that's what he is. He's C-class creative. Creativity and the crapper. Satirical stooge. Like, because he starts doing that. After Artsy Fartsy, he gets into alliteration with the titles. Film free for all. Blah, blah, blah. You know, like.
So this is a curious chapter. It's basically Bames complaining about his first semester of having to take prerequisite classes. And most of this subchapter is complaining about one fucking professor. It's mind-boggling that James read over this manuscript, which he created here sometime in college. As an adult, read over this and like, yep, this is all ready. I just need to add a couple of chapters, and this is my autobiography.
Yeah. It's written in chronological order, so it's kind of weird that it's that way, instead of having like the things that relate throughout one part of your life. Like, you can talk about trauma or inspiration or this, that, and the other. It's nope, this is grade school, this is high school, this is college, this is my job, it's really strange how it's very serial instead of written.
Speaking of the things he chose to talk about, it didn't hit me when we covered his review of the DMV guide for new drivers.
Oh.
How fucking absurd that's in his book. In his autobiography, there is a book review of the Pennsylvania New Driver's Guide, which is, of course, how we got this little gem.
The most boring book in the history of books.
And then this next clip that I have pertaining to this chapter we're in is also labeled most boring. We kind of got on this when James was talking about continuity and mentioned continuity like a dozen times within 3 pages, that if you had a publisher, they would have helped you out of this repetitiveness. So let's hear how he uses the most boring in Artsy Fartsy.
He made us draw the most boring objects imaginable, like styrofoam coffee cups.
The most boring.
Yeah, he has
level 1 type shit.
He has a disdain for learning the basics, and this is where it stems. Like, you hear it here. He's just like, I don't want to do this. This seems stupid to me, and I don't feel like I need it. He needs it to be explained why he needs it, so he will do it. He can't operate on an order. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he's got this mindset that he is way beyond these prerequisite classes. Then kick your feet up, sit back, and just do the most basic and boring shit. But he really wanted to be a filmmaker. This chapter, I don't think it gets into the filmmaker at all. Just this one art teacher. I think this one is 3 pages long. 2 pages are dedicated to how he did not like this art teacher.
Nobody knew what he was looking for. It seemed the goal was not to do a good drawing, but figure out how to meet the teacher's own personal tastes.
And that's something he didn't carry with him in filmmaking, of making it for like what the studio wants, what the teacher wants. That's why no one picked up the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. They did interview with multiple studios, and they were like, no. This thing you brought us, who are you? You have a following? Especially funny with how the movie frames him as being one of the most famous people on planet Earth.
Yeah, exactly. He has this internet it's his microcosm. He thinks he's a big celebrity, and I think Aaron has the same problem. Not to get into too much movie talk, but like,
we've got to mention Aaron Imholt. A lot of the people checking this out may not be aware of that silly man in St. Cloud, Minnesota. But yeah, a lot of similar habits between James Rolfe and Aaron Imholt as I'm reading this book.
Yeah, definitely top of the list. My poop don't stink is one of the things that they both have in common that I notice. James has got it figured out and nobody else does. Aaron's got it figured out and nobody else does. You can't tell them. You can't control it. You got to let them do their thing. And that's this teacher gives him a lot of shit. Specifically about drawing straight lines and shading, and he was like, okay, just draw a character with no shading. And so James draws cartoons. And he's like, this doesn't look real. This is cartoons, the teacher says to James. And he's like, well, what the hell do you want me to do? Everything else has shading. It's like, no, dude, you can draw without shading. You could have drawn a wireframe of a man. You could have drawn a stick figure, but he just isn't understanding how these exercises helps him. Oh, Jerry Lillane mentions puns. Strife for perfection. That's his motto. James strifes for perfection. He makes things so much more difficult for himself in order to achieve the most minute detail that doesn't matter to anybody but him.
Of course, the behind the scenes, the Red Cow Arcade doing a perfect analysis of that, showing him making his studio so much more difficult than it needs to be. And it's just what I do now. This is my style. I know what I'm doing. And yes, I have everything stapled and duct taped to the ceiling. Why wouldn't I? My wife kicked me out of filming my stuff anywhere but the garage. So this is what it's got to be.
He has a tripod duct taped to a drop ceiling. It is ridiculous. A faux drop ceiling.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's like he recreated the nerd room in his garage. He used to do it in the basement from the house he grew up in, but now his wife has pushed him into the second bay of the 2-car garage. He's like in that little area.
So everything is just very much confined. It's not the size of a spacious basement that he'd been doing it for. It's now designed to look the same, but it's packed all in there.
Right, and he can't do the same dynamic shots like he used to in the earlier seasons of his internet show.
Air Joe has a good strategy to skip the first chapters of an autobiography about the childhood. You'd have to skip half this book to get this stuff.
I was going to say, we're on page 109.
Yeah, 109, 114. I think that's where I left off. Somewhere, I did not get very far into this at all. I guess we're around halfway through chapter 3, and it's mind-boggling what he puts in here. So chapter 3C, as I was about to get into, I believe we get into the film talk in this one.
Chapter 3C, Freshman Film.
Freshman film. Ooh, I do have some fun with alliteration too, as well. I love just college chaos. Freshman film.
Oh wait, we moved down from Artsy fartsy.
There was more on Artsy fartsy.
Yeah, real quick.
Yes.
The teacher did not let somebody in the room. He stood there because he was late and just stared at him and shook his head. I think that was lifted from somewhere. That seems like such a movie, sitcom, television thing to have happen.
That's such a regular occurrence. I had the same thing. It was an English teacher that the room is closed and locked at class time. James went into such a long explanation of the how the campus was laid out, and it's not really one campus where it's a few disjointed buildings, but
That's usually how it works.
He's really defending himself and other late students here years and years later, way more than he should.
Yeah. The ruler thing, like, he was supposed to draw straight lines without a ruler, and James loses it. Like, how am I supposed to draw a straight line without a ruler? You wouldn't hammer a nail with your bare hand. A ruler's a tool. It's like, dude, if you could hammer nails with your bare hand, you wouldn't go grab the ruler. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you practice drawing straight lines, it's muscle memory, is what he's trying to teach these students, is draw mundane shit, and you just get used to drawing. And he's not grasping it. And that's why his band sucks too. Because he's not doing fundamentals. He doesn't. It's not just mind boggling. It's mind numbing. Like, I was really getting, just so frustrated with this. And then he got shit for signing a painting. I'm guessing he autographed the painting. Because James seems like a guy who practices his autograph for when he is actually famous. And he did a big painting. And he puts a big James and then a big R, James, so it's James Rolfe. Like,
I forgot about the time dedicated to his signature. It sounded like, yes, he indeed spent some time in school figuring out what his signature would be. That completely forgot about that useless information, because we are bogged down with a lot of useless information here.
And the last thing I'll mention in the artsy fartsy, because I was trying to look for dissonance between the book and the audiobook. And he just says, we paid money for this. But in the audiobook, it's written in caps. We paid money for these classes. So he's like not reading with any emphasis of what he wrote it with as he wrote it 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, he was more upset then than he is now. So he's not bringing it.
I do have an example of that here later in the book. We're going to jump ahead. We'll talk about this, but hear him trying to emphasize his crazy dorm mates.
Then I was informed that the room goers were tripping on acid. I was living in a madhouse. A madhouse.
I love how he's really trying to hit, because he does... I didn't make note of him not hitting the capitalization that you talked about, but that's what he's trying to get across here. A madhouse. A madhouse. But...
because wait.
Yeah.
Go. I was going to say it's a madhouse because of what his roommates did. They froze ink pens and dental floss, basically suspended it in water and froze it in the freezer, and that's what he walked into. And he just didn't. Yeah, he's a total dork. He has no idea that just people
and that sounds
do shit.
Exactly like something that you would do on acid. Like this, for some reason, this is very important to suspend these things and get them frozen. Once they were done tripping, I'm sure they couldn't explain it, but he's probably never taken psychedelics. Taking a psychedelic, I can see how that could be very important to a person. Yes. This madhouse.
I was living in a mad...
Let me hit that madhouse before we go forward.
Yeah, please.
I want to hear it once more.
I was living in a madhouse. A madhouse.
A madhouse. But that's jumping forward a little bit. That's College Chaos Part 26. I don't fucking know. We'll get to it eventually. But back to his college classes.
Film.
Yeah, the freshman film. He talks about some of his college classes. So James just spent 4 pages being a whiny little bitch about not being able to take a film class in his first semester, and then he drops this.
Like I said, there was no film course that year, but I managed to sign up for a film elective.
Film elective?
There is no film course. There is a film elective. To me, an elective is a course.
Yeah, it's a type of course. You take electives before you take your core classes. And the electives are supposed to help you learn your basics. That's why you take them in the first year. It gears you into helping you think like what your profession is going to be. You need to get into a certain mindset. Yeah, and this is my subtitle for this chapter is, because it's his freshman film, is This Goober Gets It 20 years later. Because this is where he gets combative yet again with yet another teacher. He takes this film elective. And we mentioned it earlier. This is where the "I've made 70 films" quote comes from. He says that directly to a teacher with all sincerity at 19 years old.
That's what the next clip is entitled. 3A, 70 films.
He told me it was too ambitious, going with the start all over mentality. I told him I already made 70 films at home. He replied, on video, this is film. Sure.
He's got contempt in his voice there. On video, he's trying to make himself seem more, what is cinema?
A film camera is much more complicated to operate, but in my opinion, changing the medium from videotape to film stock shouldn't change the story and the intent. But he didn't want any narrative element. He wanted us to do abstract pieces.
Just like his drawing classes, and he's not able to draw that parallel of we are doing basic bitch stuff here in this class. Oh, you trying to get complicated? No. Basic bitch. But I'm a filmmaker. I want to make films. That's the whole reason I am here. You're wasting my first semester with all these prerequisites.
Yep.
Prerequisites. They're required before you go and do other stuff. Thanks for dropping in emo screen name, and for dropping us at the pinned on the Cinemassacre Truth. You guys have been very supportive, and I hope you enjoy the dissection of this, because this is fun and torturous. If you are into BDSM on the masochist side, this book might be for you.
Yeah, or if you have insomnia, if you cannot sleep, you can put some of this on repeat, and James will lull you right into a nice nappy world. He is very monotone and nice and smooth. He should be reading me bedtime stories.
I've done that, and I'm curious if later in the book, if he says this or if I dreamed this after going to sleep to him talking, is that people he was interviewing with to make his movie said it was unfilmable. And I'm curious if that is indeed in the book, or if I just fell asleep and I was like, oh my God, they told you, and you still went forward. So
even if they did.
Either that does exist, of people telling them this movie is unfilmable on this budget, or my subconscious inserted that in there, just knowing that's what happened.
That's exactly right. That is right. One way or the other, it happened that way. 70 films. He gets his way again. He's directing his entire class. He brought in 30 monster masks. He was doing some type of... Yeah, it was a big project, because he had to complicate it yet again. Instead of just shooting like an apple rotting in black and white for 3 minutes. He makes himself come off as such a self-important whiny bitch, and that just complained and would not shut up till the professor was like, okay, for fuck's sake, bring in your monster max. Fucking sure, why not? Yeah, that's how it comes off. He paints it in the book more like the teacher relented in a nicer way, like, all right. But it was more like, this kid's not going to let it go. Just do it. You know what I mean?
You and I, we got the same idea out of that. He did. You got to read between the lines a lot on this. Like the psychosis that his dad was put through from having such a problem child. It isn't anywhere here in the book, but there's a certain few little things that it's like, wait, what? Why did your parents move in with your grandparents? Wait, why was he? The story he isn't telling us is more fascinating than the one he is telling us.
I agree, and that's exactly same. I've been thinking about it myself. Sam mentions that no ghostwriter, no editor. He did have an editor, not a good one. And he did not have a ghostwriter.
That was Justin was the publisher editor, right?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, I just saw
I,
real quick.
I saw, yeah, he's making waves over on the Cinemassacre Truth.
That's okay. Same thing. Never mind then. You can't make a negative video about the guy. He'll get you.
There has been an update. It said that the strike has been taken off that channel.
Oh, really?
So it sounds
Good
like
on
he can be talked to. That it was an auto takedown. I don't know. But the fact that he let the strike go, good on you. Thank you for allowing us to call you a slob, because you can't look like that and not be called a slob.
Yeah, no kidding. Or especially with the one picture that was floating around with him on 2 folding chairs, one for each ass cheek. They were facing.
Yes, this Justin guy, Sam Bibley, is the same guy who plays the triangle in his band, who's just up there for reasons.
In the really small denim vest. I can't get over it, dude. It's just like
that man in a little coat.
100%. One more thing about the 3C. The teacher makes a distinction between video and film, like tape and celluloid kind of thing. But James makes no distinction whatsoever. He goes out of his way to say, if it's on tape, it's a film. It's all film to me. Movies are films.
He sure does. I have that audio. Here we go.
To me, the most important thing was story. Whether it's video or film, I made no distinction. I referred to all movies as films.
And the way that people goof on Aaron Imholt, he's calling streaming broadcasting. I don't get on him for that too much. I guess I can see where James is coming from here. But once again, he's coming from an Aaron Imholt point of view, the way he's like, but story. Story is most important to him. And this is what you gave us for a book? The story of your movie? I think you need to go to Story 099. You shouldn't have had a 101 class in college about storytelling. You need a non-credit class. You're coming in with all of these know-it-all ideas, and you do not know the basics of storytelling.
No, that's what's weird. And he thinks that the way you shoot it doesn't have an impact. Like, it doesn't matter if it's on tape. It doesn't matter if it's on film. It does matter. It does. It's a soap opera, daytime soap opera versus Apocalypse Now. One of those is a film. One of those is a television show shot on tape. It's a vastly different.
Right. Air Joe is a fan of Trauma, and yeah, there's so many Trauma movies that don't look like movies that James's movies would look like. If you put them side by side with the lesser Trauma movies, Redneck Zombies and those, all right, then maybe we're getting into the area of this is a film and that's a film.
Yeah, right. I can give him I will give you leeway if you're making a right effort, but he can't no distinction between shooting a home movie versus shooting a 8mm film or 16mm film. But he also says that this was the first time he felt like a director when he was bossing around his classmates.
But yeah, I took some notes on that because it was the first time that he got to be a director. All the other times, he was just playing with his friends, a game that his neighborhood friends didn't want to play. Like everyone else wants to just play Whose Line Is It Anyway? It was fun to play Whose Line Is It Anyway? That it was on TV. So we want to play some improv games. Lines? Do it again? Yeah. No, yeah. Colin Mockery doesn't have lines or do it again unless the little line is written on the paper and they're playing that game on the Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Right. So, no script, nobody acts.
I didn't put in where I wanted to place this from this chapter 3B, no goofing around.
And nobody here was goofing around like some of my younger experiences. Here, they were all 100% cooperative. It made me feel like a director.
That was it. It made me feel like a director.
Good. That one that I forgot to put where to drop it in is exactly what we're talking about. That was your first experience as a director. Everyone working towards the same goal. For movie sets, everyone's getting paid, so that is everyone's motivated to get this done in a good fashion. In a classroom, we all want a grade. So that's working towards the same goal. When you're the only one who's working towards the goal, you're not filmmaking. It's like Man on the Street, basically. Somewhere between Man on the Street and filmmaking. I don't know what to call what you were doing. You could have just. You're making me lose what I want to say. Here,
it does. It numbs your brain, dude. You just forget. You just go, and it's gone.
I do get this way every episode on covering this, where I'm like, I don't even have the words to finish saying "you asshole," so I'll just say "you asshole."
So, like at the end of that chapter, the 3C part, that's where I was reading emo scenes. He calls Let's Plays TV shows. I see it. I can see it. That's a TV show. Just him sitting around playing a video game. But before I get too distracted yet again. So at the end of the chapter, he says videos and film are basically the same thing. Videos, movies, it's all the same. But then in the next, like in 3D, the first paragraph, he's calling them videos and movies. So then, like, he's like, the next video I shot was blah, blah, blah. And then that was a movie that I did. It's like, dude, you're using all these terms interchangeably, but you want to be a filmmaker, but you're still calling your videos and the tapes movies. So, you know, he's just as confused with his labeling as his teacher was confused about his project.
And let's go ahead and officially get into chapter 3D. Why not? Here's what James calls it.
Chapter 3D, free-for-all film.
Free-for-all
I called it Gina and George because he made two good friends in this. Because this is who it's about.
And there is no mention of Gina and George before this. There may not be another mention of Gina and George after this, but they were his real filmmaking buddies in freshman year. So Bames is still making movies for a hobby, and he still has trouble finding actors because everyone else is busy being a college freshman, even though his dorm mates were like, hey, the head incident, this ain't bad. You want to help me? Oh, no, I have to bong this beer and then bong this pot. That is what I'm doing. Maybe after that, could I be in the movie? And I don't know. Oh, yes, this is the chapter where James's psyche starts to break, and he casts a cockroach as the lead of a horror movie. But then he can't find the cockroach. So he's just taking his camera around the room, this still room that no one else is in. And he calls it, claims this is horror of the unseen.
Yes, because he can't find the bug in his house. So now he's freaking out because there's a roach crawling around. And that was straight out of boredom. He was home alone. Nobody was hanging out with him on a Friday night or a Saturday night. His dorm room was it was awful. It was very much like my first apartment. 7 guys in a 1-bedroom, just hanging out all day, smoking, sleeping wherever you fell over. He was not this. I think this was culture shock for him. Like, he had no idea how to handle any of this. He was literally cleaning up after his room goers and other roommates because they were so filthy. And then finally gave up. I have a few clips of that. I believe in 5, chapter 3E and 3F. It's E and F because that's all I read up to. G through fucking Q. Do we get to O? I don't know how. I think it's 5 more that we have. It's basically around the halfway point, and the drama is coming up next week because James wasted so much fucking time talking about the fun that his roommates had, or room goers, people who just drank beer in his room because they smart. They know they can't do that in their own room, but this fool, we could do it. So Bames calls goofing around at 2 a.m. With his platonic friend Gina a film. It is not. He met another film enthusiast, George, who is apparently a John Waters fan. Here's what this one is entitled Pact. This might be the one that I dropped on the Cinemassacre Truth earlier this week, or it's the one next to it because they go together.
He told me his goal was to make a film so weird and disturbing, people would walk out of the theater. So we made a pact to create something truly wild. We never actually did follow through. That's usually the case.
What a story, Mark.
We never actually followed through. There is so much of that in this book so far. Nothing ever came of it, but nothing ever happened. Well, then fucking get rid of it. Get it out of the book. So if George wants to make this wildly offensive film, so
people will walk
he's
out.
It sounds like he's a Pink Flamingos fan, and nothing ever came of it. Well, thanks for telling us about this thing that didn't happen here in this book, all about what happened in your life.
Yeah, a lot of his stories fizzle. What were you saying?
So many of them. I was just trailing off of anything else that didn't happen in your life that you would like to tell us, James.
He gets trapped in a train tunnel. What else happens? There's a lot of things that happen in this chapter. But this is the part where he mentions in this little section, if he doesn't have a script and he invites people to film, they show up. If he has a script and he invites people to film, they blow him off. They don't like his writing.
Oh, even, he can't take a hint. James does not take a hint, because even George goofed off on set and blew James off all the time.
Yeah.
But James was okay with that because he had some sort of talent. So someone stealing the scene or dismantling the project, that is all right.
He talks about George and how kind of unhinged he is, not really unhinged. He uses the word spontaneity, which is spelled correctly in the book, but he says the spontaneity. Spontaneity. And that one that stuck out. And then he's like, oh yeah, he blew me off. No call, no show. But in the book, but I forgive him. But in the audiobook, he doesn't mention the forgiving him.
I took a note of that too, because that is the main difference between the audiobook and the physical book. Is James looks back in hindsight. The last time we talked about this was his menial job at Shitmart, as he calls it. When he was in the book, he has like 3 different instances of, but that was then I've got it. Just like, it's not a big deal anymore. That's what I was looking for, but it's not a big deal anymore. Omits those.
Right.
He's still fucking bothered by that shitty menial cart pushing job that he had.
He's bothered by doing that. He's bothered by his friends not being 100% cooperative. I feel like he thinks he's putting in more effort as a friend, and his friends aren't returning the favors as much.
This next clip, I believe you already went over it. Available with no script.
Again, it always seemed like people were more likely to be available when there was no script.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're just trying to fucking hang out, and you're not. James has always had a unique relationship with time, emo screen name. All we need to say is the word 540, and we get a giggle out of the Cinemassacre Truth people. So far, no mention of 540, except for when they were kids, and it was too late for them to film. That must have been 540 that caught him then.
They had to be home for dinner. You got to be home. That's why you got to leave 20 minutes to get there. Yeah, that's so great. He does have a special relationship with time and space, apparently.
Clip number 4C.
Yeah, keep going.
Insanity.
All along, I've had a bit of insanity, in case you haven't noticed.
Yes, James. I realized you were mentally unwell. More than present, James realizes he is mentally unwell. I realize it.
He mentions oh yeah, that's it. Now I remember what my notes say. I got like 4 words written. I had to put it together. He had a idea for a movie that I thought was actually pretty decent. It was along the lines of a Freddy Krueger style of thing, but there was a guy who would have nightmares. But then when he would wake out of the nightmare, they would manifest in real life. Like they would become actual physical problems for whoever dreamed them. I felt like that was a good idea, and he never pursued that either. You know, because you can get wildly creative with whatever. Dream states that's for everything.
He does into the film festival. Bimmy decided to host a film festival, and it was headed towards complete disaster until Gina appointed herself a producer of the event and started getting the word out rather than putting up some posters and just being like, posters are up, people will submit. Nope.
Yes.
Not until good-looking Gina tickled the creative balls of some people, and they got 3 hours worth of film submissions. And I feel like Gina is going to be like Bimmy's prom date. I don't think we're ever going to hear from her ever again. She had this positive influence over his life. The film festival, that's kind of like a dream come true, since he's wallowing alone in his room and not being able to do anything he wants to in his first semester. There's Gina and George that got this going. And then, of course, at that point, our buddy Kevin Finn comes running along. Oh, you're doing a thing? I'll do a thing, just like he did with the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. Oh, you're doing a thing? I won't hold up my part, but I'll come and I'll give it the old try.
Yeah, no kidding. That's so strange that he knows Kevin Finn so well and still isn't, like, doing something in the mainstream himself, like producing or being invited to direct a reality show. Jesus.
They took two different paths. Kevin Finn did start going down the proper path of being a production assistant. That's what I want to do when I leave here and somewhere is let's start doing production assistant stuff. Try to find the cut the line. Everyone wants the cut the line pass because it can happen to anyone. But Kevin Finn, unfortunately, he's a production assistant for reality television. I would much rather be a dishwasher at a sit-down restaurant than a production assistant for reality television. It's not television. They're not preparing you to create your own movie, as seen as when Kevin said, "Oh, I know how to create my own movie. I'll help you out, James." Nope.
That was a bad decision.
He was starting to go down the right path of filmmaking and starting up from the bottom and working your way up. But reality television, no. That's not preparing you for scripted television. Even though it's scripted, it's a bunch of fucking vultures who are trying to make normal people look evil. And that's no. Reality television does not prepare you for actual film and television.
And if you're trying to break into acting, do not go on one of those shows. You will be vilified by the editors if you got any type of combative attitude in you.
When I was in Los Angeles, I didn't want to do any of those. And there was a celebrity dating show that I was like, it's a couple bucks. Let's go for it. And they, the producer that interviewed me really liked me, wanted me for the show. And then it was like, all right, we are in territory where you can't talk about any of this. We're going to reveal the celebrity. It's Mama June. Mama June of Honey Boo Boo fame got a makeover, and she has a dating show, and we would love for you to be on it. Fucking no. Can I ruin my reputation both creatively and romantically any quicker than going after Mama June on camera? No, not happening.
That's crazy. Yeah. I would not want to have that in my portfolio. I agree. Joe Schmo was a decent show. Rickety Crickets was in it from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He was one of
they
the
only
main...
had the that was more like a prank
Yeah.
meets a reality show, because there was one real person, and then the second season I think they had two real people, and the lady figured it out really quick, and they were like, look, the other guy hasn't figured this out yet. You want to stay aboard and now be one of us? Google gobble,
yeah, you got either got to
one of us.
Yeah, you got a recruiter or a booter. So one more quick thing, because he talks about metaphors in this part of the chapter too. Metaphors, man, like filming street signs, like as cutaways from, like, he's being real ham-fisted.
Yeah, going out with Gina and George. That was the train going past him you mentioned, and the metaphors, man, filming at 2 a.m. That it's like, you weren't joking about that, were you? You were like dead serious at the time of metaphors. It's metaphors, dude.
Yeah. And I wrote, Hero James starts a film fest, but Gina gets it. She's the actual April. Like, she picked it up. He wanted to do it, and then she got it going. Cause yeah, everything they printed was graffitied and torn down. Yeah, the train thing, he chuckles at his own story. He tells and it seems like another lifted story, like they were in a subway tunnel-ish, like a little subway tunnel, and they had to stand up against the wall, and like, as the train went by.
I know I've seen that in a movie. Not just Stand By Me. I know I've seen that in a movie. So I didn't think of that he's conflating that with something that he saw. That's definitely a possibility.
Well, and Stand By Me was the first thing that came to mind, because that was a fear of mine. I have a similar train track in a suburb here, and my friends were going across it, and I'm terrified of heights. Number one, it was like 150 feet up in the air. I'm like, I'm not going over there. They got mad at me. I was like, I'll wait. And
I want to hear more.
There was
Gina.
another one,
Gina and George being introduced to them in this chapter. Gina was your producer, James. You found that person who could have been your fellow producer, but nope. You went back to your old butt buddy Kevin, and I'm still trying to lift some clips to create my own. Kevin and I were butt buddies. Haven't quite found it yet.
I know, fun with real audio. This book would have a lot of treasures in it.
I've got a couple ones. James said elongated at one point. I was like, oop, let me get elongated. I don't have anything for it yet, but I do have a few clips of James saying some choice words that should be some fun when I find some other sentences to create out of it.
So as this chapter's closing, like, he paints himself as like the hero of it all. Like, he was like, I started this film festival. And the last line was, I continued doing the Free for All Fest annually until junior year. And he changed it to my annual film festival. Like, he made it his. Like, I continued the Free for All Film Festival, made it sound like it was somebody else. He was continuing their project. But when he did the audiobook, he was like, it's my annual festival until my junior year. Okay, so freshman...
So you did it twice.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at. You did it 2 times? You did it your sophomore year and your junior year? And then, freshman year and sophomore. I made the note. I had to write it down.
Yeah, according to
and then junior, senior.
It didn't happen junior year, and later in this chapter we'll find out exactly why. You and I know why, but we'll get into that next time.
Yes,
a lot of you already know it as well of what's coming up for fearful James. Like, his biggest fear on the planet Earth at this point is being expelled from college. So the fact that it happens here later in this chapter, I'm like giddy every time he's just being frightened little James. Oh no.
He is. He's such the nervous Nelly. And I think that's why he was doing all the things at first before he got to the point where he's just like, fuck it, they're slobs, I'll leave them go. You know, he's like keeping the dorm clean. He's making sure he didn't go on the balcony. He was making sure, like, the dishes were done. All that shit. And he's like,
Principled Uncertainty believes it could be a false memory, and wondering about the differences between the audio and written. Mainly the differences are just subtle, but they're ego-driven differences. I didn't even pick up on the one you just mentioned of him going from our film festival to my film festival. The main ones I've picked up on are, as I mentioned, of like, but it's not a big deal anymore. He omits those. It's very telling, the things that he omits. And he just didn't read his wife's foreword, which didn't add anything. As we mentioned in the first one, it was just like, I love James. A full page of James went after his dreams, and I love him. completely useless forward. If he would have got like maybe a celebrity fan of his from back in the day, it couldn't be the special effects guy from his movie. That guy disowned the movie. He's it's not on his resume. IMDb, I love that so much that he put a variant of his name instead of Frank. It's Frankie, and it's the only credit. I forget his actual name. I'd have to look it up again. But that's something that just tickled me so much of watching the behind the scenes of this second generation, very talented special effects performer. And he's got him in the hot ass kaiju outfit in the middle of the desert in the middle of the day.
Dude, that is ridiculous. You're going to kill somebody by overheating them. It's
he had this talented person, and there you could see. Oh, here's a big reason why why he disowned himself from this project, because he was like, "Oh, we're gonna make all these great special effects. No, make shitty special effects, but I can make them great. No. This is a shitty movie, and people are okay with shitty effects and shitty movies." And by the way, how do you feel of having an internal temperature of 106?
At least, if not 111. Good God, man. Bimmy. I can't wait till we get to later into that when he's actually hopefully talking about some of his filming things.
Which isn't the rest of this chapter, or at least the next two subsections of this chapter. It's more of the same.
Chapter 3E, College Chaos Part 2.
The sequel.
3E, College Chaos Part 2. So here we go. Since it's College Chaos, this is not stories of James. This is stories that happened around James.
Yes, this is all third-party stuff. Real quick, though, I continued the Free For All Film Festival annually until junior year. But in the audiobook, he says, and my film festival, I did the film festival annually until junior year. Like he does. He makes it him. It's so funny. All right, back to the room goers.
Gina and George. Gina and George are the most interesting characters of this book so far, and you mentioned them for like 5 pages. Gina, George, and the head incident. All those we need more on, and I don't think we're gonna get more of.
Yeah, he is a moron, though.
Yeah, I noticed that after I said that. I said moron.
Yeah, the balcony. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, a lot of these clips are about the balcony. I believe this might have been the first words from that subsection of a chapter.
The roomgoers all smoked cigarettes, which never appealed to me. Obviously, smoking inside the dorms was not allowed, so they'd step outside to the balcony. This would seem like a better decision, but smoking on the balcony wasn't allowed either. In fact, we weren't allowed to use the balcony at all. I would guess that was due to the risk of someone falling off.
Duh.
And I don't know if I had more there, but looks like there was a file missing. Maybe I tried to put in another silly clip, because that helped me get through these chapters. Dropping in those little clips from Forrest Gump, and did we get to the planes, trains? No, we've got some planes, trains, and automobiles clips coming up.
Great.
That helped me survive these. That's balconies for you. Sometimes the simplest comments are the funniest ones. Thanks for joining Principled Uncertainty.
Yeah, big shout out to the chat. There's a lot of people in here today. I'm happy to see them. And I'm very happy to be, like you said, this is painful yet fun at the same time. I had to take a break. His chapters break down to about an hour and a half in the audiobooks, and I have to stop after about 35, 40 minutes. I'm just like, okay, let me absorb what I just heard and distract myself with something so I don't go comatose.
We'll see how the rest of this book goes. We might be going half chapters for the rest of this, because this one, I certainly wasn't getting to that. Here we are. We just passed an hour in, so we probably would have overloaded the fuck out of this episode if I would have read the whole damn chapter about nothing. About nothing, but I found it incredibly clippable.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, Gina and George get mentioned in passing. I think Gina was a love interest, or Bimmy was not interested in her, but she was interested in him, and he just is too stupid to pick up on the signs. So he don't want me, so I'm going away,
I also wonder if
Or if
he
George stole
dulled
her.
down any of the romances to not make his wife jealous. That seems like the relationship that they might have. There might have been a romance. He did mention that Gina was a platonic friend, but as you mentioned that, I'm like, maybe there was a romance in one or possibly both directions that he can't write about because April Rolfe would not approve of such a thing.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that because he doesn't mention losing his virginity at all yet. Which, if I was writing an
I wouldn't be
autobiography,
surprised.
yeah,
I remember that in the Rock's autobiography, him talking about fucking a girl out in the bushes of the park. I forget Mick Foley's first time. As you see, the books I read. Did a wrestler I like write a book? All right. How'd they get laid for the first time? I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, we just get a glossing over of the first first sexual experience because it wasn't with April.
yeah, I'm guaranteeing that she was like, you should probably omit this, or she just edited it out and didn't tell him, and he just read it anyway and forgot about it.
Captain Miserable. I remember Mrs. Rolfe looking fine, not getting amazing, awesome hot points or ugly points. A passable lady that, depending on who you ask, is either attractive or average.
Yeah, agree. She's, to me, a soccer mom, like an attractive soccer mom, a MILF kind of look. She's definitely far from ugly, but yeah, it's not a 10 out of 10. And I feel like she's like Gina. She probably runs that whole household, and just James is there. You know what I mean?
She
Making
absolutely seems controlling, Captain Miserable. That's what a lot of the the Cinemassacre truthers also believe, because James pretty much outright says it, that he made his movie, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, the actual movie, not one of the 600 before that, but it seems like he traded in his pants to get that done.
Yes.
This is my lifelong dream, so I won't be needing these anymore. Do with them as you wish. And yeah, she does seem like the controlling type that James actually enjoys. I had a friend out in Los Angeles whose mind was always just racing with the what ifs. So when he found a partner who she wore the pants, he loved that. Out in public, can I pretend to wear the pants? Yeah, sure. You can pretend to wear the pants in public while I make all the important decisions so your mind doesn't explode. Thank you very much for all of that. No hard decisions, and I don't have to look like a complete half a man.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure his wife lays out his clothes for him in the morning. Here, put this on today. My subchapter titles for this one, real quick. Bimmy's Balcony, because he talks about that a lot. Or Smoking in the Dorm Room. Smoking in the dorm room. Oh, sorry. I'll stop there. And definitely Scaredy Cat Square James. He's scared of everything.
And you're keeping the alliteration, so that would fit right in with all of these words of the same letter that he's using. So we just talked about cigarettes before we got off on the sidetrack, but the stakes are raised.
They'd even leave the balcony door open when they were gone. I'd come home from class and see it open with nobody there, so I'd shut it time and time again. Why was I cleaning up after them? It was partly because of friendship and partly to defend myself. After all, I was the one in the room most of the time. What if the RA walked in and blamed me? The stakes were raised. They were smoking weed, too.
Raising the stakes.
Oh, shit. The actual real story of I'm the one that's there the most. You just hung around all the time, and these occurrences happened around you. That's what this chapter is. Shit that happened around me in college. Oh, speaking of shit, this next one is a long clip, but this talks about some actual physical shit because the school, they told everyone, hey, the water's being cut off this day. Reminds me of my buddy who got stuck in Carmageddon in Los Angeles. They put that stuff everywhere. The 405 is closing down these days. Stay the fuck away from 405. And one of my foolish friends who didn't pay attention is fucking caught. We're hanging out. Like, where's Dave? Why isn't he here? And you could see it when my buddy got the phone call. Dave's in Carmageddon. He was a weird duck, that Dave. He refused to listen to the radio. And he missed out on some good KCRW stuff. And our buddy David Lynch reading the morning news. But yeah,
And
he missed out
number
on
of the day.
Ooh, the number of the day is 35, and the color is chartreuse.
I made sure to get all my bathroom business done before then, but the room goers were still taken by surprise. One of them took a shit, and because the toilet couldn't flush temporarily, the room stank with the rancid odor of ass. Everybody was out on the balcony as usual, so I decided I'd step out there just once for some fresh air. I walked out and enjoyed the beautiful view of the city. No wonder why these guys liked the balcony so much. James! Everybody was happy to see me there. One of them handed me a bong. You want to try this? I hesitated for a moment, then accepted. Why not? These guys do it all the time. As I inhaled, I happened to glance behind me at the door. I saw a face looking in, almost like a ghost behind the glass. I recognized the face as the university's director of residential life, the dean's right-hand man. Luckily, nothing resulted from the incident.
And by the way, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
You picked a good face to put a horseshoe on candy. That fits great.
Yet another nothing happened of it. Finally,
Yeah.
James has come out and joined the group. Oh, look, Mr. Scaredy Cat is coming on outside. And it's a fun little series of events that nothing happens at the end of the day.
Yeah. He uses the phrase "a cloud of weed." Like he exhales the bong hit. It's on the balcony. He takes the hit, I'm sure, and then they all walk in off the balcony. So the RA didn't see the bong or any of that, and surprisingly, in my opinion, didn't smell any weed or anything on him, or didn't care. But like he's conversing with the room goers and stuff, and he's like, "Dude, what happens?" He's like, "Dude, yeah, we break rules. The point is to not get caught." Like that never dawned on him that you can break rules as long as you don't get caught. You know what I'm saying? Like he was so scared of just the timing of everything and getting expelled. Like you said, being expelled is on his number one. It's in his. He manifested that because he thought it was coming, and it just happened. And then he puked again. It was
he did
puke number 2.
Did I miss one of his pukes? I think I might have missed that second puke.
But the phrase "cloud of weed" made me laugh because it's not weed, dude. It's smoke now. You smoke the weed, and you exhale the cloud of smoke. Cloud of weed. It's not like a big nug just floating around in the sky. Jeez, I wish it was, but.
Oh, that would be fun to harvest it just through. A cloud of weed. Come on, get into this little glass container.
Thank you. Another omission, because they say don't get caught, and he says they never did so far. But he omits the "so far" in the audiobook. In the actual book, he writes "so far," like they never got caught so far.
Yeah, that's more foreshadowing. He did the foreshadowing earlier, so you're actually missing out on story elements of foreshadowing. You asshole of. It's just so random what he takes out, but it seems very purposeful. What he cherry picks to take out of the audio version.
I think he removed the "so far" because he was still in college when he wrote it. These guys haven't gotten in trouble yet. You know what I mean? Like. All right.
Which he did. He has admitted that up to this point, these are not the words of adult James Rolfe. This is the manuscripts of a college junior that he was like, I can repurpose that into an entire book. Well,
it's so weird.
And you did. Shouldn't have, but you did.
He did. But he did this. He had to be doing this while he was alone in his room. when he should have been doing the basic exercises that his professors wanted him to do. You were writing your autobiography as it's happening, but you can't draw a straight line without a ruler for a teacher. I don't know. He was really, like his wife said, he was destined for something great. He was destined for something. He was gonna do something. Because he had it in his mind. He was gonna be a director. He's gonna be a filmmaker. He was blah, 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 blah.
Looks like Principled Uncertainty was able to negotiate, even though he was tripping and 14 years old locked out of a class. Sounds like he was a better negotiator than college James Rolfe.
Yes, yeah, he was. I don't know, man. Rolfe can't hold conversation well or something. He's definitely.
We heard that with the Opie and Anthony interview. That's actually, there's what's his name? Dancing with Ghosts, I believe, covered the James Rolfe on Opie and Anthony interview, because it's the podcast years later was the same thing that the Opie and Anthony interview was.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
And here's the thing, like, Anthony liked him. Kumia was into the Angry Video Game Nerd. He enjoyed the videos. Intern Danny at the time brought it to Anthony. Danny was the one that got James on the phone for the interview for O&A. They had the WoW sticker. Bimmy had the WoW sticker on a TV. He was an Opie and Anthony fan. Anthony was talking to James, and he was trying. You can hear it in Ant's voice. He was giving him everything. Capitalize on this. And James would just go, yep.
Was not able to take that ball. It very much like the Star Trek meme of the ball going past the android and it trying to catch it moments later was James on the Opie and Anthony interview.
Yeah, no, they were like, he must have been scared after James hung up. They were talking about him specifically. He must have got nervous and just didn't have anything to say or something. No, you wanted to talk to Mike Matei. That's who you wanted to talk to.
They wanted to talk to the character. If he's never like done improv as this character, really, it's all got to be just very staged.
Yeah, that's why, like, his creativity, like he's C-class creative. Like, he just can't bring it to that next level. I don't know.
I do like the fact that Sam Bibley can't check out Dancing with Ghosts anymore because he made fun of him too much. That guy does look very goofable. Any dude with that streak of pink or blue, you are just asking even a pussy like me to come up and start making fun of you. He does seem like an overly sensitive fellow. I didn't stick around. He's got a few videos making fun of the band Rex Viper, and yeah, I didn't stick around. He does seem like a little sensitive Sally, that fellow. He is from an emo band after all.
Yeah, true. That's the thing. Like, with James, like, he can't handle the criticism, but he lays down some very harsh criticism to Nintendo developers.
That's why it's so fun, especially this has been his career, is your work is shit. And saying it to him just hurts him so much that he's retreated and he can't even talk about the current product anymore.
No, that's the thing. It's so strange. Yeah, he is now trying to do the band thing, like you said, cover that too, and he basically has abandoned filmmaking. He doesn't do it anymore. He's like semi-retired. It's been crank out
outsourced to Screenwave, absolutely. And then sometimes when he feels like doing more, he can do more if he'd like. But music was quite a passion of his, as we read of that obscure band Metallica that he got into.
He blew his load on Metallica. He was like, oh my God, metal. And I get it. I had the same reaction. But again, I wouldn't put that in my autobiography. Not that way. I'd be like, well, metal had a strong influence on my creativity. I wanted to reach into darker stuff. I think James was so sheltered. Like, he grew up with Top 40. The first time he heard, any type of heavy riff, Black Sabbath is like one of his favorite bands. If you're not Jim Norton, You can't say Ozzy Osbourne is one of your favorite. Only Jim Norton gets to have that. Pat Dixon was having this discussion. There's like so many bands that are great, but you wouldn't say are your favorite band. Nobody says Leonard Skinner is their favorite band, but it's a great band. Like, they got great songs, but nobody says it's their favorite band. Same with Metallica. It's like, you're a diehard fan, but I don't think it's your favorite band.
Well, we can check out the Cinemassacre podcast episode and see James's top 5 bands with, what a hack premise. What a hilariously hack premise.
AC/DC was one, I think. It was very cookie cutter, too. I was like, oh, man. Like, Justin said Armand Armand. He, like, picked one black metal band, like, to be edgy boy, I guess. You know, like, James didn't say any other metal. No Carcass, no Cannibal Corpse, no Deicide, none of that. So he's like normie metal. Metallica, Alice in Chains might be metal to him instead of grunge. You know, they're really heavy, man.
Sometimes I feel like I'm a man in a box.
Metaphors, man. Oh, metaphors. That's my new thing now. Metaphors, man.
And that is how he wrote it. Metaphors, man. Actually, he tried to give that a little bit of something. I'm surprised I didn't pull it, because he was trying to emote during metaphors, man.
Yeah, that was the one time he emoted while reading, even if the text said otherwise.
What his roommates, what his room goers were doing, because that's just all
one
this
of my
fucking
favorite
chapter is
too.
about. Not friends, not roommates. They needed a specific name. These people who I hang out with more often than anyone, who aren't my friends and aren't my roommates. Room goers.
It's so funny to me. Like, dude, you just couldn't say the flops or something, like the
Fellow
room
freshmen.
Yeah.
One room goer was sitting by an open window reading a book. He flipped to the last page and loudly declared, "I'm done reading this book," and then tossed it out the window. Another rule broken. From that point on, the window became his garbage can.
A room goer, not a roommate. The 4 people living in this don't have the gumption, don't have the balls to tell him, don't do that in our room.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, well, I think his actual dorm roommate didn't care because he was cool. Like, those were probably his friends from high school. And so they were all just hanging out in that dorm. Yeah, they get called to the dean's office, I think, after the bong hit incident, because they screw the balcony door shut.
Yeah, during that during that times 20 speed, I think he might have mentioned that during that. Is that no, seriously, stay off of the balcony. We're gonna bolt it shut. And he went off for a while of how pissed off it made one of the room goers. That was like an entire page.
Yeah, this specific room goer who's now chucking books out the window, throwing things, spitting on the floor, all kinds of stuff. Like, all right, you're going to be mean to me, I'm going to go extra hard on being a shithead. So, yeah, James's room goers are now hell-bent on destruction. Here's another alliteration. Drug dabblers. Because James did start dabbling in the weed there, in that one.
He took a hit that we know of, but drug dabblers, that would be a good one.
Whoa! I'm going to try to work that in once a show.
I've got the dabble drop.
A Futurama reference popped into my head while I was listening to this, because in the part 3, they do end up getting into more trouble with authority in the college. And of course, my brain goes to Robot House! Like, like the dean.
Similar with Principled Uncertainty, the inspiration for Robot House,
there it is.
House, Delta House, and the double secret probation.
Yeah, you're going to be on secret probation. That was such a good.
They already are on probation. And double secret probation.
Right.
I've got some more of tossing stuff out of the windows.
Yes,
good.
Throwing eggs. Admittedly, the oatmeal incident got a chuckle out of me, but the eggs were where I drew the line. It gave me a real bad feeling. Still, I did nothing to stop him, nor did I want to rat him.
I like that the oatmeal was silly, but eggs, oh my God, he's throwing eggs. This isn't oatmeal. This is another level. And right there, didn't do anything about it. You just don't have it in you to stand up for yourself. Like those Mars University fuckers, that they stood up for yourself. Epsilon Rho Rho, they did not. Fucking
That's
Mars
so good.
University.
ERR. That's so good. What a joke. Like that's such a nerd joke, you know. And I like the yuppity other ones, you know, the yacht people. Robot arms. Like, oh no, it was my word. That's what he kept saying. But you mentioned the oatmeal. The kid that threw the book out the window also was like, ugh, this oatmeal stinks. And he poured it out the window, then dropped the bowl and spoon out the window. And now he's worried about eggs. Like, eggs are much more harmless than a fucking porcelain bowl, you moron.
Much more concussion-y than eggs, dropping the full bowl out. So this goes on for a little while longer of James not being man enough to say, don't do that.
Still, I did nothing to stop him, nor did I want to rat him out. I thought about the danger it could pose to pedestrians below, but fortunately, nothing ever happened.
You know, everything is not an anecdote. You have to discriminate. You choose things that are funny or mildly amusing or interesting. You're a miracle. Your stories have none of that.
Dude, I didn't realize Steve Martin
accidentally.
No, well, I hopefully we're making it slightly more entertaining. I did. Steve Martin's so good. I love that guy.
And James's face fits so well. Like the top of his head is actually cut off in this picture, but it just blends in with John Candy's hair so well. So that worked out good for me.
Yeah, I like that. It does. It makes him look great. He speaks on it. Yeah. I don't know, man. He's so weird. This guy, Jimmy. Oh.
I don't think his intended fans would be into this book. To get this to be aimed at his intended fans, you need to give them something in the first 100 pages about the angry video game nerd. I find it to be a swing and a miss on writing this book for his fans, because so far they have not gotten a damn thing of insight into James at all. So that was the last clip from that chapter. I did get to one more of the chapter subsections.
Chapter 3F, College Chaos, Part 3.
It's a quadrilogy, though, people. So remember, there's 3 and 4. At least as far as I can tell.
The College Chaos, based on the other chapters of College Chaos, tell me that this is another meandering chapter. This has nothing to do with James, and fuck you. This is... You're getting me frustrated beyond words again for including another College Chaos immediately after. There wasn't a break between College Chaos 2 and 3. They're subchapters right next to each other.
Yeah, and part 3 is where the madness starts. I'm living in a madhouse.
Yes,
because he
comes. That one I dropped earlier. It started.
Then I was informed that the roomgoers were tripping on acid. I was living in a madhouse. A madhouse.
2 exclamation points on the second madhouse.
And he really gets that across very well.
Oh, good. And we didn't miss this part either, because this was actually something else that I would have been super happy about. This is something I would have included because it would have been a moment for me. Snowball Renegade 2000. Somebody came up with the idea to have a community snowball fight, and this went far better than his film free-for-all. Thank you.
People were immediately interested in there's no class today? Oh, we're going to have a big-ass snowball fight?
Yeah. And he said a lot of people showed up, man. People were phone calls, shouting it in the hallway, and the turnout was fantastic. And that to me, because that's something he did or was a part of that helped other people, because he said there was a lot of people who were up from somewhere that didn't get snow. So that was literally their first snowball fight.
Not people from Miami. Miami gets lots of snow.
White lines. The Grandmaster Flash song. I love that song, man. See, now we're Ray DeVitoing again.
It's so easy to just cross over into hack territory and start singing a song. You did it once already today, but you caught yourself.
Yeah, smoking and... Oh, no, don't. And this part of this chapter, this is where I make the comparison to my first apartment. Trash everywhere, bottles all over the place, cigarettes on everything, holes in the wall. It's starting to get out of control in his dorm roing.
Oh, he actually did have a picture of the hole in his wall. It was a giant gaping hole in the wall.
Hang on. Scroll.
I'll go ahead and play this audio clip while you're looking for that.
Eventually, a room-goer who was busy washing a dish suddenly stopped and snapped. I don't feel like washing this. I already knew what was going to happen next. Smash! Broken plate fragments hit the floor. Breaking plates instead of cleaning them became standard, and soon plates were rare.
Oh! Dishes are done, man. Cleans them down to the shop.
Hell yeah!
Oh.
That was my favorite part of this chapter, reminding me of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
I knew that movie. I was like, this is Don't Tell the Babysitter's Dead, huh? Oh, man, what a great movie.
Dishes are done.
He also mentions, like, they don't do dishes and that it became you wash and repeat. Yeah, there's the hole in the wall. There we go. That's his dorm room.
Looks like a dorm room. It reminds me of a lot of dorm rooms that I visited. Fucking filthy. And yeah, the strategy of just, we have a pile of dishes. If you need one, wash that one and throw it back on the pile.
That was my philosophy until about 2 years ago. I just had a sink full of dirty dishes. There's some interesting pictures in the book like that one. Like you get to see what his dorm looked like. Somebody did artwork, and there's that one picture of James wearing the beanie and the long sideburns. It's on the cover. Rasta Bimmy. Emo screen name host. What I'm talking about. Rasta Bimmy.
The
Everybody
main
loves
cover.
Rasta.
I meant to... Can I share that? I meant to get that earlier, and I forgot to. Yes, I can share that. So the actual cover of the book...
I'm specifically talking about that third one over there. He's doing the...
It does look like he's trying to play a non-white character and be cool about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Cuck face right on the cover, dead center. What a goofball, man. I love this guy. This is fun.
This is both fun and painful at the same time. Anyone who is a masochist, thank you for joining us. I've got one more clip. It's another foreshadowing for the later of this book, but we're currently at an hour and a half, so I am happy that I decided to call it here when I had 20 fucking clips.
Yeah, this could have been a 3-hour chapter. And I agree with Stalio. Paper plates. That's what it was. You would think.
Yeah, growing up with my dad, we had actual plates, but like never used them. That was like a holiday thing. We're paper plate household, indeed. So here's that one more clip that I had from this chapter.
I got out my camera and recorded a short tour showing the trash piles and foul condition of the room. Next thing, the room-goers were in the living space staging wrestling matches. One of them was a big, hulky guy who could lift 2 people at the same time and slam them onto the couch. So, I recorded it. I always had my camera ready, so why not? I just wanted to document it to preserve freshman year.
He wants to preserve his freshman year.
So
of 80s plates.
This is the start that we see of the accidental narc, James Rolfe. We have Jackass, which was huge at the time, and a lot of people wanted to emulate Jackass. So, of course, the other guys see him with a camera. Hey, you want to read these lines? No, we're gonna run at each other with pots and pans on our head. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do what Johnny Knoxville and Chris Pontius did. So, accidentally being a narc, knowing where this goes, and his expulsion coming up soon. Good to see you've got plenty of evidence to kick you the fuck out.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. He's been evidence gathering this whole time and just doesn't realize it. I mean, again, none of his roommates do either, because who would predict that the dean would get to watch this all on tape? Anybody with a brain would have predicted it, but they were happy to do dumb shit on camera, all of them. So
it was the style of the time.
Exactly.
There's all these guys doing dumb shit on camera. Let us do the same thing.
I believe one of the first ones I saw, I know it was the first one, was the land speed wheels video. That it was CKY Can't Kill Yourself.
The rocket skates?
Oh, no, it was like a skate video, and it was Bam Margera, Chris, Delete, I can't remember, it's not Delete, it's Stefano or something like that, and a couple other guys that you would know, and they were doing jackassery stuff. Like, they would order a drink at the drive-thru and then throw it back in the drive-thru window, so it lands on the floor. Yeah. That was all that kind of stuff. So that's where, like, me and my friends were doing that kind of stuff at the same time. I was hanging out with a bunch of skater punks, and so everything we filmed was directly inspired by Jackass and Bam Margera and being a degenerate. Right.
Could I mentioned Dave earlier. Could I goof on him once more? His girlfriend went to college up in that area and cheated on him with Rab himself. Not even one of the main guys, just Rab himself, ready for some random poon, and it was my former comedy partner's girlfriend, and it's really fun to poke fun at people from the past. Maybe one time I'll get into that whole thing of my former comedy partner, but he had his head up his ass, and now we're not comedy partners no more. If you would like to be my comedy partner, email me, Dylan from somewhere at gmail.com. Where is that banner?
There you go. I was going to say.
Or any other shenanigans. Dylan from somewhere at gmail.com. And let's go ahead and get into the plugs. We're going to be doing this for the rest of the book every other Wednesday. We do have Aaron Imholt still on the docket for every other Wednesday. We'll see if that becomes too much for me because, 1 week I needed a break between Rolfe Wednesdays and Imholt Wednesdays. Currently streaming.
It's too much.
It's a bunch with these fools. Reworking my streams. I'll be in the new year Wednesday and Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern over here, goofing on different shit around the internet. And what are your plugs, Spurg Snake?
At Spurg Snake on Twitter. I usually it's mostly reposting like for your shows and other Hackverse related stuff. My show. I hang out on Monday nights now. Sunday night got popular. And Monday night seems to be open now. So game show Monday night and music streams whenever the mood hits me. And I was going to say to you, you need to do a reverse one, chatting with beloved hosts, like a reverse interview where we get to ask you personal questions so you can pontificate on some of the silliness throughout your early life.
I like that because that's less effort on my end. You want to come on my show and lead it for me?
Oh, see, that's perfect. That's great. That's how we do it.
So, this is something of the co-host audition. I'm the co-host, but I'm leading it. And that will be reworked in the new year. I'm going to be combining TikTok around the clock and co-host auditions to make an entertainment magazine. But we do have some fun TikToking around the clock tomorrow. Halloween morning, we were checking out TikTok live from Halloween night last night. Now Halloween morning, I had one left over, so some more hotties from there. And anything else before we go? James Rolfe. I'm done talking about you for the day, James Rolfe.
Yeah, I agree. Ouch. We're fine. We covered an hour and a half on half a chapter, mind you, as well.
Half a chapter to page 115, I think it was 105.
Yeah, 115. You're right.
93 to 115. That's as far as we got.
Yeah, because part 3 does that's where all the shit starts happening that leads into his expulsion. We'll probably talk about that more next week. Yeah, it's 5:40. We got to get going.
It's the 540 monster is very much like the Baggy monster. It has tracked us down, and we must get the heck out of here because it's 540 somewhere. Actually, no, it's not. It's 507 somewhere, but it's not 540 anywhere right now.
Good enough. Yeah, no, I think that's where we'll probably end up picking it back up, right? But right here where I pointed the camera at it and recorded all this shenanigans and led to his biggest fear so far.
James's biggest fear comes true next time as we get into the expulsion from college. His biggest fear comes true. And then I imagine it resolves itself by the end of those because we've got 20s after this. So 25 more pages for his biggest fear happening of being expelled and then graduating eventually because the dean was like, this is a slow adult. I can't do this to this slow adult. Come back. You can come back.
I think, I think there was a special concession made for him.
We'll see.
And that's another thing.
Expulsion buddies got back in. We know that he got back in.
Yeah, and that's another one of those things that he got his way. You know, like so when his big movie didn't really go the way it was supposed to go, and he didn't get his way, I think that's just snapped him in half, man. He's like, everything was destiny until it wasn't.
Kevin Finn is his destiny. He said so himself.
Oh,
he basically said so. It was like destiny. We were roommates. It was like destiny. He tried. He didn't help at all. Yeah, I'm done. I'm getting tongue tied. Yep. Thank you all for joining.
Yep.
Now feel free to go away. Once I find the thing, feel free to go away. And thanks for joining. Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you to all the newbies that showed up. I've seen some new names in chat today. I'm very happy that you guys are here. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Emo Screen Name, for pinning our link to the top of the Cinemassacre Truth again. And we definitely get a bump from that. So thank you so much for doing that, Emo Screen Name, and hope to see you back here in 2 weeks. So now we really are signing off for realsies this time. Take care, everybody.
Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's fun being with friends. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye for now.
Toodaloo. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao. Ding dao day.
Places all. All join hands, circle left. Now circle right and listen to me. LS, MFT. Elementary corners like swinging on a gate. To right to your honey with the right and left date. Grand right and left around you go. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. Meet your honey and give her a whirl. All swing around with the little girls. Smoke 'em, then you'll see. LS, MFT. Promenade and don't you fall. Promenade around the hall. Lucky strike is first again with tobacco men. Promenade straight down the pike. It's time right now for a lucky strike. Yes, for smoking that you're bound to like, you just can't beat a lucky strike.